Welcome. Welcome to the Burgundy and Gold Knuckleheads podcast. You know it. You've got it memorized. But right sitting over there with me, it's my main man, Reggie. What's going on, Reg?
What's up, Ken? What's up, baby?
Not much, man. I was thinking about trying to do something different, but I couldn't come up with anything. So I kind of stuttered and stammered there a little bit, other than my main man Reggie, as everybody knows. I was trying to improvise there, but clearly,
Hey, man, don't be like EB, man. Don't overthink it.
No,
don't try to get cute.
No. You just
try to get cute, man.
No, I just tried to go with the flow, and the flow wasn't there, so I just introduced you as generically as I could. Not that that's a bad thing with my main man Reggie, but we got a handful of things to cover today on this podcast. Obviously we're going to end up talking about the upcoming game between the Seattle Seahawks and your beloved team of Washington Commanders. Seattle is 5-3 against your 4-5 Commanders. But we'll talk about that here shortly.
Right.
But we're basically at mid-year, right? We're halfway through the season, maybe, for us, one game past midway. And we just kind of wanted to kind of real quick go through some mid-year review. Obviously, at 4-5, we are not where we wanted to be. So there may be, it's not unheard of to have some criticism at this point of the season, but we'll see how that goes. Your just general thoughts on that, Reg?
Well, it's funny you said the mid-year, and because of the 17th game, is there really a mid-year? I mean, you're either 8 weeks in or you're 9 weeks in, because
we could have done it at halftime last week, put it out there real quick.
Exactly. So either way, you do it after 8 weeks or 9 weeks, and technically you're in a halfway point. But a little bit of commercial business, man. I want to say, again, just a big shout out to everyone that listens to us, whether you stream us on streaming platforms or you watch us on YouTube, man. So we always want to thank our listeners and our viewers for tapping in and listening to what the knuckleheads have to say. And if you're watching us on YouTube right now, you can see our Twitter handle that's strolling across the bottom of the screen here. And our Twitter handle is at the 2 Knuckleheads. That's at DA, the number 2, followed by Knuckleheads. So again, appreciate everybody, and just wanted to get a little bit of the commercial business out of the way.
Yeah.
But in terms of the mid-season, man, the season hasn't gone quite the way I would have expected.
Right.
Hasn't gone quite the way I wanted it to go. On one hand, this looks very much like the last 3 years under Ron Rivera. Start slow, start getting on a win streak, and they keep preaching that, oh, by the way, we're right in the thick of things. Well, being right in the thick of things with this team means that we're fighting, clawing, and scratching with the teams that are all at the bottom of the barrel, and every week for the next 8 weeks has to be a potentially a playoff game for us, because we don't have much room for error because of the slow start.
Right.
The flip side of this thing is there's a lot of positivity and a lot of optimism going forward with this team, that things will be different next year because we have new ownership and it looks like we found our quarterback. So it's kind of like I don't want to call it yin and yang, but it's kind of like it's just kind of a catch-22. We look the same, the results seem to be the same, but there's optimism that things are going to be different, hopefully starting next year. So,
right.
That's kind of my initial overall thought
sure.
Of the team.
Yeah. I I don't necessarily disagree with some of your statements there. I think, especially last year and this year again, we expected the defense to carry this team, while last year, Heineke and Wentz kind of got into a rhythm. This year, we think, oh, let the defense kind of play tough. A couple moves that they made, some people getting healthy that were not healthy last year. And once again, if anything, it's it's the offense, right? When the offense is clicking, and not that it's been by any kind of shootout offense type of offense, but when the offense produces, Washington seems to be in the game or potentially winning the game, because the defense hasn't pulled their weight,
No,
based
not
off
even
of
close.
yeah,
Not
based
even
off
close.
of the personnel and the expectations and everything there. So it it's we're all at a little bit of a loss. And because of that defense, we lost. I say lost. We traded away Sweat and Chase Young, and after one game, we commented on our last podcast. It wasn't anything dramatic, any dramatic difference on the defense overall. I think there's probably a little bit less quarterback pressure, but the results were the exact same. So, uh, let them go. You weren't going to re-sign them for the amount that they re-signed for, or in Sweat's case, what has signed for with Chicago Bears. And probably Chase is looking for something close to that, and we weren't going to pay him either. So,
What's funny? It's funny you say that because the the 4 games that we've won so far, it had everything to do with our offense and not our defense.
right,
And and I think the difference between this team being better turns out that it was going to be the play of the defense. And the fact that the defense has not lived up to expectations, we're kind of a middle of the road team. And so the defense has essentially let us down, right? I think everyone thought that the
yes,
offense had a lot of question marks, right? How would EB be as an offensive coordinator? What would he bring? How things would look differently? There's a lot of hope about that. And then what would we get from Sam Howell? We know how he looked in the last game of the season against the Cowboys, but yet how would he look with an offseason going into as an official first year starter? And to me, those guys have exceeded expectations. But the defense is sat here and just look like they regress, so to speak. Um, and in terms of last week's game against New England, and the defense didn't light it up from a defensive perspective in terms of hitting the big stats against a bad New England offense. I was listening to John Kime and some other folks that get paid to do a lot of film watching, and they said that Mac Jones has one of the quickest releases
right,
in the NFL, so he doesn't hold on to the ball. And so they were saying that because of his ability to get rid of the ball so quickly, the rush was not able to get there. So if you had a situation where he didn't have the fast release, a lot of those would have been pressures and sacks.
right.
So there's optimism. But here they are going against a Seattle team where I don't know that Geno holds on the ball to a lot, holds the ball a lot longer, but you certainly have a situation where he's going to uh, beat you with his legs, but he also has a knack for going deep. And if you're going to go deep, then that means you tend to hold the ball a little bit longer. So there's a potential for more pressure and more sacks this week going up against Seattle. So we'll see how the defensive line performs this week against a different style of offense.
Yeah, as I was looking, we talked about the mid-year review, and I don't want to spend too much time on this. I kind of want to move on and not get trapped in this conversation for mid-season review for too long. But I think overall, when I look at it quickly, when I look at if I'm looking at good and bad, um, the good part is, as we've talked about, Sam Howell, especially when as the last couple weeks, the offensive line has had some improvement. By no means have they been stellar, but they've had improvement, and you see the same. You see with Sam having more time making good decisions, other than the one last week. He's making good decisions and accurate passing and everything that you want from, again, a first year rookie quarterback. Um, the bad, it's it's I don't want to just totally dump on everybody that's not named Sam Howell, right? Because there are players that are playing well, but it gets overshadowed sometimes because everybody else, if half of the defense is playing well and half of it is playing like crap, everybody looks like crap because there's too much breakdown, there's too many missed tackles, there's people getting beat at the line, whatever the case may be. But as opposed to going and just crapping on everybody, the thing that bothers me the most from a bad perspective is for the last couple years, whether it was Chase and Montez, whether it was Jamin Davis, this year I'll throw in Jahan. We keep waiting for these younger players to take the next step, right? And nobody ever does. It's like whatever you see in these players year one, that's at this point, that's been their max. And it's not like second year, third year, all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's coming along now. He gets it, right? The skills, whatever else it is. And so, I hope that doesn't, set the stage for Emmanuel Forbes or Sam Howell that they've reached their max here. But a lot of these players, we've keep on waiting for them or saying, oh man, they're going to bust out next year. Wait, I think I've been hearing good things in spring training. I've been hearing good things in mini camp, whatever. I say spring training like it's baseball, in mini camp or in during the preseason. I mean, I'll use an example. Preseason and really game one, maybe we saw a lot of production from the tight ends. The last 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, where are the tight ends on this team? I mean, I don't know, right? And so again, that's a letdown that people aren't going to the next level. Whether that's coaching, whether that's the players, whether it's the scheme, I don't know. But I would like to see some of these players all of a sudden take off and go, oh yeah. He had a good rookie season, but now he's something special. Now he's truly something special. And ultimately you want that in your quarterback if you can get that in from anybody on the team. But for the last few years, that hasn't happened with anybody on Washington. So
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's valid. I think part of that, in my opinion, has to do with the type of players that I think Ron targets. Right. So you've heard me say it before. I think the biggest lie that teams tell you during the NFL draft is they take best player available. And that
right,
is such a crock of you know what, right?
right,
Like you don't take the best player available. You take the best player available based on what you need at that time.
sure,
And so because of that, I think Ron and his GMs have tried to go find these guys a certain type of guy. That certain type of guy that Ron is looking for may not be the best at that position. Jamin Davis was probably not the best linebacker that they drafted. Did they need a linebacker? They did.
right,
But they went and got a guy that we're like, who, what, from who, where,
right,
right? And I think Ron thought, well, he's got a lot of traits like the guys I used to coach in Carolina.
Right.
And he's got some good NFL traits. So let's take a flyer on this guy. And if it turns out, it looks like you found the guy that everybody else overlooked.
Right.
As opposed to just going and getting the blue chip guy from Michigan, Penn State, or a name, whatever, the big university. Ron goes and tries to snatch a guy from a small school where that's not known to produce a lot of football talent. So I think that's part of it. The next regime may not quite handle it that way.
Right.
They're going to trust the scouts and they're going to say, hey, listen, man, this guy is pretty damn good. He's got some off the field issues, but he's pretty damn good. If you can get him straight, he'll play. And that regime is going to go, well, shit, let's let him play. Ron sits there and go, oh, he's got some problems off the field. Ugh. His family was in the military. Oh, no, I like that. That's a certain type of athlete there. If his family's in the military, he's probably got a good upbringing. Let's go with that guy.
Yeah,
well, he's got a little bit less. He's got a little bit less talent than the guy over here at big university. He's got a little bit of question marks off the field. Don't want that guy. He's not good in the locker room. I want to go with the military guy.
Right.
And so Ron goes and get those kind of guys. And I think, to your point, they don't maximize the talent. Every now and then you might get that guy that the Luke Kuechly's of the world that all of a sudden pans out, and Ron's like, see, we can find talent. So to me, I think that's a little bit of what he does.
Right.
I think Jahan Dotson is the real deal. I still got hope for Manuel Forbes. And from a tight end perspective, I agree with you that the tight ends have not jumped out in this offense like I think a lot of people thought we did. No one thought that they put up Travis Kelce type numbers.
Right.
But Cole Turner was supposed to be this guy. But once again, was he?
Right.
Nobody else was talking about Cole Turner, but we sure as hell did when it snatched him out of Nevada.
Yeah.
And it turns out the guy don't like to block. Well, if you look at Travis Kelce, if you look at Kittle, them boys will block, they'll catch, they'll do it all.
Right.
Well, Cole Turner's got the good catch radius, right? Remember this? Catch radius.
Yeah.
But if you can't get your ass out here and block down on a defensive lineman or a linebacker,
yeah,
because for the second year in a row, Cole Turner has disappeared when the season started.
Yep.
We hear a lot about him in training camp, and then the season starts, he disappears, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and normally for a young quarterback, a tight end tends to be a kind of a check down guy, right? The safety valve of the tight end who blocks. He helps chip block or do whatever, and then he goes and does a quick little curl or over into the, I'm not gonna say not like a screen type of flat, but he'll go over wide flat to be the release valve. And I know Sam tends to keep his eyes downfield compared to some of the other quarterbacks that have come through here over the last few years. He's less likely to check down on something real short as quickly as some of the other quarterbacks. And to be fair, that's probably why he's gotten sacked a handful of times when he should have let it go. But yeah, there's just not much production from the tight ends this year. And
I'll give you one more point that's concerning about the tight end position. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's been talked about quite a bit. And that is Sam spreads the ball around. In other words, he throws the ball. He seems to throw the ball to whoever's open.
Right.
Whatever the defense is going to give him. He's not favoring Jahan. He's not favoring Terry, although everyone knows Terry's our best receiver. He doesn't favor Terry. He doesn't favor any one particular person. Like last week, I think 9 different people caught a ball.
Right.
And the numbers were outstanding. And he's done this throughout the season. So the fact that he's willing to spread the ball around and yet our tight end position isn't getting a lot of catches is another reason why the tight end position has not shown up with this team this season. in
Well,
Eric Bieniemy's offense.
well, it's again, there's fill in the blank of the tight end that hasn't stepped up and gone to the next level, right? Um, and again, I'm not talking about, I'm not trying to, Dots. I've been happy with Dotson, but if he goes to the next level, whether it's the back half of this season, next season, then you're adding just that much more trouble for other defenses downfield. And the last couple of weeks, we've seen him more involved in doing
He's been
better
getting
than
it
the
done.
first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. So this may be kind of the turn for him this year. And as a fan, we absolutely love it. Just real quick, I was going to go. You want to do an offensive MVP and defensive MVP?
For the sake of time, we don't have to even do offensive or defense. We can just do who we think is the midseason. I'll leave that up to you.
Well, I'll tell you. For me, I just real quick offensive MVP. I think it's kind of obvious that Sam Howell. Nobody on the offensive line is getting it. Maybe Scary Terry, but it all revolves around Sam Howell. And to him distributing the ball compared to other years where Terry would just be the main focal point. Terry's numbers are probably down a little bit because of that. And so on offensive, I would give it to Sam Howell. Defense is hard to give, right? Who do you give to? Early in the season, it looked like Payne was earning that contract. The first 3 or 4 games, he was making an impact. He was breaking up plays, even if he wasn't making the play. He was disrupting the plays and changing it on teams. Had a number of tackles on running backs for negative yardage. And he seems to have, I don't know if he's getting more double teams or what it is, but it seemed like he's not as impactful. The person I went through on defense was St. Juice. He's done a pretty solid job. Everybody in the secondaries, you're going to get burned at some point, but I think St. Juice has been the most consistent player on an inconsistent team. Maybe, like, again, that'd be probably St. Juice or Payne would be one of my two, but I'd give the nod at this point to St. Juice, and I'll let you comment on that or whoever you got.
Okay. So you gave Sam as your offensive and St. Juice as your defensive. What about your overall team MVP?
Overall team, Trust Way. I don't know. I mean, again, we say it every year. This team has some talent. I think the offensive line, Ron and company made moves to make this offensive line better. It didn't work. If the offensive line was better, even what we're seeing the last couple weeks, if we would have seen that since week 1, you'd have to give it to Sam Howell because he'd have more time, and I think his production would be better. The sacks would be down dramatically. He wouldn't be having 7, 8, 9 sack games. He would have 2 or 3 sack games, and you can live with that with a young quarterback. So yeah, overall, I'd have to give it to Sam. But our offense isn't blowing anybody away, so that's not to criticize him, but that's not the strongest overall team MVP for anybody.
Okay. Well, real quick, I'll give you mine. My midseason offensive MVP goes to Sam Howell as well. My midseason defensive MVP, it's going to be Cam Curl. I would agree that it was kind of hard to pick someone off of the defense. But I went the consistency route as well. Someone who's played well, who's not giving up a lot, blown coverages or big plays on the defensive side of the ball. And in this case, he happens to lead the team in tackles. So I'm going to give it to Cam Curl. In terms of the overall team MVP, I agree with you. Just just simply by default for the offensive side of the ball, it's got to be Sam Howell, because to me, offensive line doesn't get it, and all of our skill position guys are only going to do so much based on the Sam. And for me, for a guy, Sam Howell, to be in his 10th start in his career, I mean, think about that, just 10 games. And to be second in the league in passing behind only Tua out of Miami, he's 7th in touchdown uh, uh, passes, which he's thrown 14. Now, keep in mind, he's 7th in touchdown passes, and the guy who's in the lead is Tua, has 19. So even though he's 7th, he's only 5 behind the leader.
Right.
For an offense that even you just said, and by most people's accounts, we're not a great team. But yet he's 5 touchdown passes off of the touchdown leader halfway through the season. So to me, he has got to be
with a bad offensive line.
With a bad offensive line. And this is a guy, in my opinion, who has solidified himself as QB1. And Ken, I can tell you, for someone who's been a fan of this team for a very, very, very long time, I can't recall the last time that I have been able to go into every game, and I'm going to say probably since week 2, because going into this year, we didn't know what Sam was going to be.
Right.
But since week 2, I've not gone into a game wondering, concerned, or scared, wondering what's going to happen from the QB position. It's like, what else are we going to do to help Sam?
Right.
But I've not been worried about Colt McCoy, Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz. You just name it. I can, Sanchez, all the quarterbacks.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I've gone into a game week in and week out, whether we win or lose, I'm not concerned about how Sam's going to perform.
I agree.
Right. So as a fan of this team, man, Sam's QB1 in my opinion, and this team needs to do everything they can going forward to build around Sam Howell. So mid-season MVP for me is going to be the QB1, Sam Howell.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, as we talk about what it takes every week to win and lose, and things that might make us stumble. We talk about the offensive line. We talk about running it more, not running it more. Stopping a scrambling quarterback, stopping the pass, the big play on pass. We never say, man, Sam Howell needs to step up his game. Man, Sam Howell can't do this. He can't do that. We might talk, there's criticism of him that, there's probably a number of the sacks that he should have thrown the ball away, or he held it too long and maybe should have checked down. But those are mistakes that are rookie mistakes. And as you see through the season, and as the offensive line gets a little bit better, we're seeing those mistakes dramatically drop off. And I think we'll continue.
Well, it wasn't just Sam; it was a combination of a lot
Absolutely.
of things, including the offensive line.
Yes,
and
yes.
with the adjustment that's been made on this team from an offensive line perspective, we've seen a change and an adjustment in Sam's play. So again, it goes back to that there were a lot of things that was contributing to the high number of sacks, including
Correct.
Sam himself. So
absolutely. And then even through a lot of the challenges, whether it's the sack challenges, whether it's losing a few games in a row, the way that Sam has handled it, he's never thrown anybody under the bus. He takes the blame even when it's not necessarily his fault. We know there's been a couple games where the offensive line, couldn't stop anybody, couldn't stop anything. Right. And he would say, well, I just need to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker. I need to be faster.
He never threw his lineman.
No, if anything, he took the blame. And again, that's a young quarterback that 100%, that internally he gets frustrated. because he would like that extra half a second. He would like to be able to make that play. But he's the team player and does everything that you want from a professional quarterback in this league.
So I hope I didn't just give Sam the kiss of death.
Correct.
But I still believe in the kid. And so as we go on the road to a place that Sam has never played, he said that he has never experienced it. So he's not sure what to expect going to Seattle in the 12th man.
Yeah.
Seattle is coming off of a beat down. The boys got drove playing the Baltimore Ravens. I think it was like 37-3 or something. I don't remember what the score was, but it was ugly.
Correct.
And I know it was ugly, Ken, because I have several players on my fantasy football team from Seattle. And them boys got me single-digit numbers. I'm talking like less than 5.
Right.
Multiple players.
Yeah.
Right. My quarterback got hurt, so I had Geno Smith for the game against Baltimore. I'm like, win or lose, Geno's going to chunk the ball around. Geno got me 3 points. Like, how the hell you get me 3 points in fantasy, Geno?
Yeah.
So they got drove against the Baltimore Ravens, man. And so our boys, the good boys from DC, are going to head to the Pacific Northwest and take on Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
I think Seattle is 5-3. We're
Correct.
4-5. Seattle is 3-2 at home. So home has been nice to them thus far. And of course, everyone knows that those fans show up and show out. And they represent the 12th man, proudly. And I think they're going to be there to give it to us as the visitors, and especially given what happened to them last Sunday.
Yeah. To your point, they are 5-3. Their last 6 games, they're 4-2. Doesn't sound like much of a difference, but their 4 wins, if you look at their schedule, their 4 wins are against the Carolina Panthers, worst team currently. The New York Giants, they're not. They're pretty much right there with Carolina Panthers, Arizona Cardinals, and the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns have a good defense, but offensively they're not doing anything. So those are their 4 wins in the last 6 games. Their losses are against the Ravens and the Bengals. So they're beating bad teams. The bottom of the bottom. That's who they're beating. We are in the middle of the middle, along with Seattle. So this would be an interesting game because when you look at a lot of the statistics, especially offensively, we are right on par with them. They're averaging about 21 points. I think we're averaging like 21.8 points. Passing yards and rushing yards is not a significant amount when you look at it per game. They're passing the ball about 58% of the time, so they're closer to keeping it on a even run pass ratio to where Washington is at a roughly a 65% point right now. So the teams play differently the way they attack, but a lot of from a stats perspective, they're very much on par with each other. Although their defense statistically is better than Washington's, because Washington is giving up a lot of points in a lot of games, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think their defense is probably just overall better. I say they're better because they're getting production at every level, and they're getting production from multiple players. We're trying to get our defense to perform as a unit because we don't have that standout guy statistically, I guess, if you want to say, that we have always thought that we would have on our team between John Allen, Payne, Sweat, and Chase Young, no one really jumped out there and took the mantle as, man, that guy is just something else, right? When you think of San Francisco, you think of Bosa. When you think of Cleveland, you think of Garrett. And the list goes on and on.
Right.
When you think of Washington, they talk about our front that had the 4 first rounders, but you never speak of just one guy. And 2 of those guys are gone now. And this is where we need Payne and Allen to step up. I mean, they got paid based off of their production, so we need that production.
Right.
But when you look at Seattle's got Witherspoon, the young fella in the back end. Then they have Bobby Wagner in the middle. And then on the front, I forgot the guy that they had. And then they went out and traded for the big defensive lineman Williams from the Giants. So they've beefed up the defensive line. But my point being is they got guys at each level. And so as a defensive unit, they're not bad. They're pretty good.
Right.
In fact, I'm looking here at my notes here that they're 14th in the league in passing defense and they're 17th in the league in rush defense. And on paper, you may go, well, that's just middle of the pack. Well, shit, that's a lot better than we are.
Yeah.
Right. And so you need to be worried about it. You need to be concerned about it. With Washington, there's question marks at the linebacker position. We're still not sure what we're going to get from the defensive front 4 because Payne and Allen aren't having the year that we all thought they would after the years that earned them the big contracts. And by no means am I saying that they're no longer the guys that they were. It's just that they're not making the splash plays that they were the years they were in contract years. It doesn't always have to be sacks, but man, they're not disrupting the plays. They're not getting in the backfield. They're not tackles for loss and all those types of things that earn them those big paychecks. And then on the back end, we're bending but not breaking on the back end. Obviously, we got Manuel Forbes, who had a bounce back game, but he's still learning. St. Juice is having a very solid year, and then Kendall Fuller is being a steady guy. And then Cam Curl. But again, there's no one out there where I think defenses are saying, hey, we need to look out for those guys. If we can block the 4 up front, we need to be worried about the linebacker or this corners and safety. There's nobody on our team that they're saying that. But we're going to go into the game worried about Wagner and Witherspoon. So there's something to be concerned here. I know that they've not beaten any powerhouse teams, but hell, neither have we.
Correct. Yeah. The defensively, one of the things as I was looking over there, we played the Giants and Patriots, who are 2 of the biggest high percentage blitzing teams out there. They're both when we played them were 40 to 45% blitzing. Seattle takes a different approach. They're one of the least blitzing teams at only 22%. And if you look at Washington, I think Washington is at about 31 to 34%. They've kind of fluctuated here. So they're rushing with their front 4. They do, again, obviously they're blitzing some, but it's spot blitzing as opposed to just sending the house. And so their approach defensively is to keep 7 back, and they feel, what Del Rio wants is for their front 4 to get the pressure for Washington's front 4, and then that'll make it easier on the 7 that are back there. Well, that's kind of what Seattle's doing it. They're not killing it because they're not a top 5 team, but they're consistently doing that because their sacks are on par with some of the better teams. They're not in the top 5 or 7, but they're that next group as far as sacks. And so again, it's going to be a different approach. I think it's going to take more reading of the defense out there for Sam compared to getting some teams that were blitzing a lot and you had one-on-one coverage. You just had to find that open receiver and that receiver that was on one-on-one and count on the receiver making that play. But it's going to be a little bit different approach for Sam this week.
Okay. Well, we'll see if they can get it done, man.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
EB seemed to have. I mean, the team as a whole seemed to have made an adjustment, and ironically, it coincides with the changes on the offensive line. And the first week that happened was against Philly. We lost that game, but man, it was a close game
Yeah, we're down
against
to the wire. Yeah.
one of the better teams in the league. And then the second week was against a New England team that statistically is not very good on the offensive side, but their defense is still really good. And our offense came out on top in that game. Excuse me. So we're 1-1 since the offensive line changes. And so we're gonna go to Seattle and let's see what happens. Is this gonna make us 2-1 since the change on the O line, or are we gonna be 1-2? So we're about to find out, right?
And I think we are about to find out a little bit more about what you think directly on this upcoming game, Reggie, because it's that time.
Is that time?
It is. It is. What's your name? What's your number? What's your confidence level on Washington walking away with a win at the end of the day?
Let me tell you something, Ken. I listen to other podcasts,
right?
And people are starting to steal our segment. Just so
no, they're not. No, they're not.
Yes, they have. What's your confidence level? They don't have the music. They don't have the 70s music. However, they're asking people, "What's your confidence level? What's your confidence level? And what you gonna do?"
Go out on the knucklehead audience out there. If you hear a podcast doing that, especially if they're directly approach is the same as ours, I want you to get on their
because I've heard radio stations
get on their social media and tell them they're stealing from the knuckleheads. I mean,
I've even heard radio stations doing it, Ken. But yes, other people are stealing our little shtick here, man. But that's okay. They say what's the word I'm looking for here? Is the form of flattery. What's that phrase?
Well,
imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Hey man, this is cool. You know what? You guys can borrow that. I don't want to call nobody out.
No, but I want us to be able to be at a certain level that people recognize that they're pulling it from us, right? I don't want ESPN taking it from us because then we're never going to get credit for it, right? But anyway,
ESPN, but people are doing it.
Just wait, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear this song on ESPN, and they're going to be shaking their heads just like Reggie does.
I don't think they're going to hear the song.
You don't think so?
No.
They don't pay the royalties that you and I pay.
Wait, hold up. Hold on. We're paying money for this?
Man, yeah, Reggie's got deep pockets, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on. Wait a minute. We're paying money. That means we're losing money.
well, with that being said, we'll talk to our accountants about it and see what those numbers are. We don't, we let somebody else take care of the books.
Because I think they should be paying us for playing that song.
It could be true. That could be true. Maybe the sponsorship will be coming our way, and we'll get you some a 70s tie-dye T-shirt or something like that to wear.
We're not. We're not.
Oh, Reggie, with that, if you see Reggie at the bar this coming Sunday, let him know if you think he would look good in a tie-dye T-shirt. Have you ever worn a tie-dye T-shirt, Reg?
No.
No?
And we're gonna keep it that way. Hell no. We're gonna keep it that way.
All right. A burgundy and gold tie-dye? No?
No.
All right.
Wearing no type of tie-dye. Not happening.
Oh, I know Reggie too well, and that is 100% the reaction that I expected from my main man, Reggie.
Hell no.
We'll move on past that. We've had enough little giggles here. Reggie, you want to go ahead and give your confidence level as we move across country from Washington to Washington?
All right. Yeah. So as I alluded to a little bit a few minutes ago, I mentioned that the team has played well a little bit um, since the change in the O line. The O line, I'm gonna go on a limb and just believe, even though we're 1-1 in the past 2 games, I'm gonna believe that the offensive line has turned the corner. And this new lineup that we have with Tyler Larson at center and Chris Paul on the left side, and then with Cosby on the right side, that interior offensive line has gotten a little more stout and is allowing Sam to be able to have a better pocket, cleaner pocket, or even in some cases allowing him to step up into his throws and allow routes to develop down the field.
Yeah.
That has generated more chunk plays in the passing games. However, we're 4-5. Our 4 wins came up against teams that will not make the playoffs.
Right.
Arizona, Denver, Atlanta, New England. So we ourselves are not beating the echelon type teams. Seattle will be the first matchup since the New York game. Because we lost against New York, played Philly, played New England. So this will be the first matchup since our trade, I should say.
Right.
And along with the offensive line. So the two together where we're playing a good team. So let me make sure I say that right. Our first game since the trade. So our defensive front looks different along with the change on the offensive line. Because this is our team now going forward.
Last week was an new offensive line, and Chase and Montez were gone.
No. Our first game against a playoff caliber team.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. So the two combined, new look defensive front and change along the offensive line against a playoff caliber team.
Sure.
So now I want to see what we look like. But as I said earlier, I need to see a trend on some things. So all of that said, my confidence that we travel up to the Pacific Northwest to the Seattle and face the Seattle Seahawks in the 12th man, my confidence number is a 4.
4, man. The crowd doesn't like that number, Reg. They want, they're homers, right? They're homers, and
Okay.
if when you don't give a good grade, they don't get a little disgruntled there.
Well, hey, listen, man, listen.
But it's an honest number.
My confidence number is subject to change, but you got to give me a reason to change it.
No, I don't disagree with you. My approach on how I'm looking at this game from confidence level is very similar to yours. But I will add that, last week we weren't playing a stellar offensive team by any means. But other than the one play that they broke away for a long run for that touchdown, the defense played well last week. And they scored on a short field and a big busted run. So the offense didn't look bad. I'm sorry, the defense didn't look bad last week. With that being said, this is the second week of the team gelling without Montez and Chase. And so I think actually they'll play a little bit better. Not that they're going to be, world stoppers by any means, but I think they're going to play a little bit better and a little bit more consistent on giving pressure to the quarterback. And with that, I'm also hoping that the offensive line continues to do what they're doing, that allowing Sam Howell to have time. When he's consistently had time, his completion percentage has skyrocketed. When he doesn't have time, he's in the 63 to 65 percentage. And the games that he's had time, he's up closer to 70, 72, 73%. And so if they can give him time again, good things happen because of that. So I think Washington is going to do well. They're not going to steamroll anybody, but I think Washington's going to come out with a win, and I'm going to put the confidence level at I'm going to repeat last week. Maybe I'm drinking the burgundy and gold Kool-Aid a little bit too much this week, but I'm at a 6.5. 6.5, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay. All right. Hey, I was out on this team, man, after the New York game. I was fit to be tired, brother.
Well, yeah. I don't think Seattle's a what I would call a true contender. Are they a contender to make the playoffs? Yeah, they might be. But as far as like a true contender, they're not there. And I think this is the first game that we will win that we feel a little bit better because we're playing a better team, right? We talked about last week after we beat a bad New England team. Yeah, we won, but we didn't feel really good about it. Now, maybe if we would have, beat them by 20 points, that'd be a little bit different. But I think this is going to be the first game where we walk away and go, okay, that was a nice, solid win. Even if it was close, that was a nice, solid win. So,
okay. Well, we haven't done it yet.
Nope.
Which is why my confidence number is not high. So Seattle may not be the team that's going to make a deep run into the playoff, but they're certainly right in the mix. And we have not beaten a team like Seattle this year.
Correct.
In fact, we've lost to teams that were worse than Seattle. So I hear what you're saying. And again, my number is subject to change, but you got to make me change it. So
I understand.
So we're going to find out. We're going to find out on Sunday.
Hey, we're rooting at 100%, right?
Absolutely.
Our rooting
100%.
level is at 10, 10
Absolutely.
plus. But hey, we have our confidence level, and look, Washington is under 500. So again, I admit, for whatever reason, I'm drinking the burgundy and gold Kool-Aid this week. I just have a feeling that we're gonna produce. And if we don't win, or if we come out there and truly lay an egg, hold on to the next podcast, because I'm going to be like Reggie was a few weeks ago and lose my mind. So, time will tell. I might even have normally we have a celebratory drink. If we lose real bad, I might have 2 or 3 drinks and be that ornery, grouchy.
You're lying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You're not going to have no 2 or 3 drinks. He's just lying. He's lying to everybody.
That's true. That's true. I am lying. I'm not.
So, but anyway, man, let's get the folks out of here, man. So we'll be back with a post-game review of the Seattle Seahawks, and hopefully we'll be having a victory podcast. And but tune in, be looking for that. And again, we appreciate you, everybody. Until next time, peace out.
Peace out, knuckleheads.